following is a paid advertisement program provided by Premier Investments and Wealth Management. An airing of the program is not to be considered an endorsement or recommendation. The opinions expressed are those of the hosts, guests, and callers, and not necessarily of this station or iHeartMedia. Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC. The opinions voiced in this show are for general information purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial or tax advisor prior to investing. The information in the following program should not be construed as an offer to sell and is not intended to replace the advice of a qualified tax advisor or legal counsel.
Hello there, and welcome to another edition of the Premier Investments and Wealth Management Financial Program. My name is Doug Wagner, your host. Before I introduce the two gentlemen who are in the room with me, I need to tell you a little bit about what they can do for you at premieriwm.com. Very easy. When you head over to that website, just grab your phone, your tablet, your laptop, or if you're sitting behind a desktop, that's fine too. You open your favorite browser, enter premieriwm.com, click Get Started, answer a few questions. You'll get what's called a one-page Premier Vision document that can get you set and answer some questions for you like, am I ready for retirement? Or am I ready for that big expenditure I may have to make if I'm interested in paying for my child or children's future college? But it all starts at premieriwm.com where they can get you started. You can also make an appointment online. In the room with me right now, Vice President and Wealth Advisor, Premier Investments and Wealth Management. He's the new sheriff in town, Elias Randall. Elias, how are you?
I'm good, Doug.
Good.
I'm good. Good to see you.
Good to see you
Thanks
as well.
for being here and happy to be on the show.
Awesome. Good to see you as well. And thanks for having me back. President and Wealth Advisor, Premier Investments and Wealth Management. He's got over 21 years of experience in the investment industry. It's like Benjamin Button. He looks younger every time we see him. He's an accredited investment fiduciary. He is the Big Kahuna, Roger Abel.
I appreciate the introduction once again, Doug.
Ale Cuisine. I feel like
oh my God,
the chef from
is that Iron Chef?
Yes, I know.
They haven't played that for years.
Old Iron Chef. I know.
Maramoto, Chef Maramoto, I think is who
exactly.
did. Oh my gosh,
those guys were great. That's awesome.
Here's what I always try to figure out about that show.
Mm-hmm.
Do they really just spring everything on them, or do they have like some idea what's going to be there? Because I always seem to have like the perfect complementary ingredients there.
You know what? That's a good question. I think in the United States, they probably have an idea, but I think that in Japan, they just set that whole thing up, and that's how they do they go extreme when they go in Japanese TV like that. So I'm thinking that might be. Exactly.
I forgot how good of a show that was.
I know.
I mean, I used to DVR that thing. I'm pretty sure it was back like on a cassette maybe, before the internet was invented.
Right. VHS or something like that. Yeah, that was too cool. Iron Chef. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was it exactly? What was that VHS?
Yeah. It's kind of like that time we were doing a podcast and Elias goes, well, was the internet even invented when you got married? I'm like, yeah, it was around. Come on, dude.
That's too good.
I was curious. It was just a question.
It's a subtle jab to my age.
Well, there's a difference between, age and seasoning, which you have the seasoning, not necessarily the age yet. So you're good to go.
I appreciate that.
Don't worry.
I'm like a cast iron pan.
Exactly.
We're just going to roll with
hit the upper 50s like me. You got to replace it. You got to get that next Dutch oven because the one you've had for the past 30 years probably ain't cutting it too well. So let's get back to premieriwm.com where you can make that appointment online. But if you want to call, make an appointment with our friends at Premier Investments and Wealth Management, phone number is Roger.
800-383-6590.
Tell me a little bit about the one-page Premier Vision document. And the thing is that we've got complexities. We've got election season, we've got holiday season, we've got 2025, we've got like all these things hitting us. It almost feels like a giant Y2K bundle of stuff that's rolling down the hill at us. Making something simple is something that's easy for the people who want to come and work with you.
That was really the reason that we developed this idea of a one-page plan. Doing this for over 20 years, what I found is most people are really concerned about the same thing.
Right.
How long is my money going to last? How much can I spend? how much how much risk do I need to take? All those different questions. And what we do is we take that financial plan, extrapolate all of the really pertinent data, and put it into one easy to understand, easy to read, one-page plan.
Right.
Highlights the action items that we have now, the action items that we have for the future, and we can just start checking the boxes. It's almost like your personal scorecard.
Yeah.
And it's been really well received because not everybody wants to know what kind of oil we're putting in the car.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Just know they got the oil change.
just know you have the right oil.
Yeah.
You know, is it full synthetic or not? I'm good. I don't need to know the brand.
Yeah. Makes sense. PremierIWM.com is the website. Again, the phone number 800-383-6590. Make your appointment with our friends at Premier Investment and Wealth Management. You know, financial planning, there's so many different ways to attack it. The number one thing, though, is that you do something about it. You do need to attack it, and that's why we're here on this program, is in order to make sure that you're motivated and educated in order to do these things. Talking about ranking your financial priorities. And Elias, we're going to start with you with regard to this. There's just so many different things that you can do. And we've got a list of things here. I want to know where you want to start with this today.
Well, what I really like about the outline for the show today is it's going to be, here's some basic priorities that everyone can execute. So let's just start with protecting yourself and your family. That's really the first priority. And the reality is every family has a risk out there that a tragedy could derail your financial plan and what you have going on. So when you look at your financial plan through the perspective of risk management, how do you build the foundation? And the foundation of a good financial plan is going to be mitigating risk through your insurance products: life insurance, disability insurance, long-term care, property and casualty insurance, your umbrella policies to extend your liability coverage. And there's a couple different, there's different products that are appropriate at different ages in people's financial journey. So I'll just discuss life insurance to get started. So if you're a young, successful investor, a good saver, you're doing everything right, then you have a family, you're married, you have a family, you still do have a risk that something tragic could happen. You could lose a spouse, you yourself could pass away. And what life insurance really is designed to do is to replace your income if you're not around, to keep working towards those goals. And I think if you work with your investment professional to get some good term life insurance, that's going to protect you. Because our philosophy in our firm, we use insurance to protect and then investments to invest. We're not big fans of products that kind of bring those two things together, right? We're either going to protect what you have or save and invest. Mm-hmm. And then those other products, long-term care, a lot of people that are retired, Roger, and you can speak to this, one of the number one questions we get is, what are we going to do about our longer-term health costs? And as we age and need care, what are we going to do about that? And then just your overall health insurance. And then you have to have your home protected, your boats, your vehicles, your toys. So it's always good to do a comprehensive look at, is everything properly protected?
And Roger, I have a question for you real quick. And I know you had a comment, but I wanted to insinuate this in here. A lot of people, they're really just they're scared almost of talking about life insurance, okay? Number one, it's a generational thing handed down from family member to family member. And then long-term care insurance is something that a lot of people are just scared. How do you overcome those barriers with your clients and talking to them about it as far as where the linchpin? Because this is the top thing in your financial priorities.
Well, part of this financial priority list, I almost think of this like a house. You got to build the foundation. Insurance is the foundation, because these are the things that can put an abrupt halt to all of your retirement savings, to liquidity for your family. It can derail. You get in a car accident, you don't have the right amount of liability insurance. Life changes in a split second, and insurance is there to help us with that. I think individuals who've already engaged with an advisor actually are expecting to have this conversation.
Okay.
I mean, if you think about when you do a financial plan, and the beauty of the planning software we use, it incorporates this. It incorporates how much life insurance do we need the next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. And the reason we do that is we don't want to overinsure people. That's just a waste of money. Incorporates how much long-term care we need. So it's pretty easy to have the conversation instead of an insurance agent, and no disrespect to the insurance agent,
Right.
but unless you're using some software to quantify this, how do you really know what a person needs? Well, I can just sit here and say, well, for the next 15 years, you need $2 million of coverage. So let's get an appropriate policy and not underbuy or overbuy.
Right.
It makes a conversation really simple when they understand why they need it. It's almost like the investing process. Once we give some responsibility to the money and people understand, they feel way better about it.
Exactly. That's Roger Abel, Premier Investments and Wealth Management, along with Elias Randall. We're here in the Premier Investments and Wealth Management Financial Program. We're walking our way through ranking the financial priorities from the inside out when they're looking at your needs and your desires. And really, I like what you said. It's a foundation because, Roger, it's something where it's like the bottom level. I mean, it's the thing that's the bedrock that nobody thinks about, nobody cares about until something comes in and screws it up.
Think about this. You could be 25 years old, wife, kid, the greatest saver on the planet, saving 20%, 25% of your paycheck.
Right.
Well, okay, do that for 3 years. And if you pass away, what's there for your family?
Right.
Well, if you made $100,000, maybe like $50,000, that's not going to go a whole heck of a long way. One of the phrases I always use with people when we talk about, especially the life insurance, it's really the self-completing portion of your financial plan. So just think about the self-completing portion. If I die, makes all my future retirement contributions,
Right.
allows my wife or vice versa, or husband, if you're a female, wife or husband, to go through the grieving process and not have to go figure out what am I going to do now. It's already a traumatic event. There's really no reason to not have these things in place. And truth be told, term life insurance is so inexpensive. If you buy this at the right age, that there's not a reason to not have it. Most people are spending more money at one trip to Chick-fil-A than what the insurance would cost them, truth be told.
No, you're right. And Chick-fil-A is worth it. I would imagine
it's great.
life insurance is worth it too. So, but this is the thing is that you revisit it as life goes on, life changes, lifestyle changes, more kids, you get older, kids go from high school to college, et cetera. So this is not a static thing. This is something where it changes along with them. The size of the foundation changes along with the house that's on top of it, so to speak.
Ideally, you get to this point of financial independence and you work with us. We're like, well, you're to the point where you don't really need life insurance. And at that time, it's when you start to transition into, hey, the long-term care discussion. It's no longer about getting to financial independence. It's now about protecting what we have there. And life insurance may still be a portion of that because, truth be told, it's a good wealth transfer tool, but it's for a different purpose. One time's protection. The next time could be either wealth transfer or protecting your assets from a nursing home or whatever it might be.
Right. I apologize for staying on this, but this is one of those things that I come from a generation where life insurance was a vehicle to manufacture income. I mean, that was the point of it, is like you left somebody tremendously better off with the benefit from that than they would have been otherwise. But it sounds like what you're saying now is that this is not a windfall kind of thing necessarily if you do the investments correctly.
No, I mean, it still is probably a windfall. It depends on where you are in life, because if you've got a spouse, whether male or female at home, and you got 2 kids, let's say. Well, ideally, you're going to set that spouse up for income for the rest of their life, or as many years as you can. Maybe you want to pay for kids' college, but you also have to complete your future retirement contributions. But you're also, if you're 35, the amount of money you have to put away into that retirement to make it work out is way less, because you're funding it with one lump sum versus 15% of your paycheck over the next 30 or 35 years.
Gotcha.
So it might seem like a windfall, but if someone inherits the money, now you got to figure out, how are we going to make this last? And that should be planned ahead of time. Like, my spouse knows, hey, if I die, here's what you have. And then we have a separate order of operations for how we go through and either pay things off, how much we're gonna have for income, how much you're gonna set aside and never touch. That's a discussion that should happen. It shouldn't just be, well, I bought this policy for $2 million, and when you get it, you just figure it out. I'll put a plan in place for that as well, because you should be able to do that.
Gotcha.
Do you ever feel like your financial goals are just out of reach? It's time to take control of your future with Premier Investments and Wealth Management, your partner in financial independence. Imagine a financial plan that's as individual as you are. At Premier Investments and Wealth Management, our team of experienced advisors will work closely with you to create a roadmap tailored to your dreams. We'll help simplify complex financial concepts, provide clear guidance, and empower you to make informed decisions. Financial wellness is within your grasp. Visit www.premieriwm.com to schedule a meeting with an experienced advisor today.
Premier Investments and Wealth Management Financial Program. Go to premieriwm.com. You can make an appointment there online, or you can call 800-383-6590. Doug Wagner along with Roger Abel and Elias Randall. And Elias, apologize, I'm going to get back to you here. Where do you want to pick up on this list? We've got plenty more of other things. Just pop around, and then I'll fill in the blanks for you, brother.
All right. Well, let's get rid of some destructive debt. I think that's a great priority. Yep. that debt can do that to your plan. It can blow you up.
Yeah.
And so let's kind of quantify a little bit destructive debt. So we're really referring to debt, revolving debt like credit cards, basically debt that you are using to facilitate lifestyle, as opposed to, when you take a mortgage to buy a house.
Yeah.
That's considered good debt. That's an investment, something hopefully you'll pay off someday, and you own an asset for borrowing. You might even need to borrow money to pay for a vehicle at some point. I think most of the time we're going to recommend paying cash as much as you can for things. But if you need a reliable vehicle, a lot of times I can make an argument that it's okay to have a little bit of a car payment for a while to have a reliable vehicle to get to your job.
Yeah.
Right? If you can't get there, how are you going to make the money?
Yeah.
So that'd be another example of debt that's okay. But the destructive debt, the credit cards, maybe home equity line of credit to do a remodel on your home, we got to get those paid off. And there's a couple different ways you can do it. I think the most important thing is prioritize getting that debt paid off. And the other thing I'll share with the listeners is almost all the people I know that are financially successful, they're good savers and investors, and they have very little or no debt at all.
It's good, and it makes sense at this point too. The bad debt. I love the way you explain that, and finding a way to get out of underneath high interest debt is just absolutely critical. I wish our buddy Jonas Everett was here today, because he had a story about that, and he's like, "We've got 4 cars in the family, and if I would not have planned to have those 4 cars, then we would have been in big trouble." You got to look forward. Like, Roger, you're looking forward to, can't remember, you've got like 10 and 12 years or something like that before you have to prepare for that, maybe.
7 and 10.
Okay. Yeah.
They already know what
close.
they want. They don't want a roof.
Yeah. No.
They want a car without a roof, which means one wants a Jeep. The other one just wants a bright yellow convertible. She picked it out. She's like, that's the one I want, Dad. It'll change. My oldest daughter one time asked for a minivan. She's like, Dad, I want a minivan. I'm like, really? She goes, yeah, both doors open. This is awesome. I'm like, sure. Minivan it up. She didn't want one anymore.
Yeah, I know.
But no, you plan for those things. And, the sooner you plan, the better off you are. And, debt is the killer of future wealth.
Yeah.
Especially bad debt. And, you mentioned high interest rate debt. You could have some debt at 0% that's still bad debt.
Yeah.
And I'm going to throw one out there that people aren't even thinking about. The phantom debt. Buy now, pay later. That is not good debt because it gives you a false sense of reality. When you go to the bank and you apply for a loan, your buy now, pay later doesn't show up. You may or may not be able to afford that.
Right.
So, anything that is for a discretionary purchase, something that's going to go down in value, should have that try to pay that off.
Yeah.
Once that's paid off, then it's really make sure you have this fully funded emergency account. 6 months. That's the way we handle not getting back into debt.
Yeah.
If you have a way to handle your dishwasher going out or your laundry machine going out and not have to go put it on the Best Buy 18 months, no interest, you stay out of trouble. I bring that up because we're going to be on our 3rd dishwasher in 7 years, our 3rd washing machine in 7 years. They just don't make this stuff like they used to anymore.
Yeah.
It's so annoying.
But if you've got that 1970s, a Amana refrigerator that's out in...
Oh, yeah, my refrigerator doesn't work.
Yeah.
My refrigerator's not working either. That's like 7 years old.
Oh, yeah,
It
yeah.
freezes in the back, and the front's totally normal. It's the wildest thing. So apparently I get all new appliances.
So the best part is when your new refrigerator in the kitchen stops working, but then the old refrigerator you've had out in your garage for all your drinks.
Holding the beer.
Yeah, it's 30 years old and it just works great
Keeps on
all
going.
the time.
Yeah, I know. I got one of those too. This is why another thing, saving for emergencies, whether it be small emergencies like an appliance going out or whether it be big emergencies like, Roger, maybe you lose your job. I know we've had the rolling recessions. We have the U6 unemployment rate's completely different, now than it was. There's still a lot of people who are still looking for that job, and they're running through their emergency funds. How critical is it to have X amount of dollars, and where do you determine that line?
I like 6 months, but a little bit depends on what kind of job you're in, what the stability is. But most people, 6 months, a lot of times is plenty.
Yeah.
If you're out of work, barring some wild, unemployment situation like we saw in 2009, 10, most of the time people can find employment within 6 months and get back on your feet. But if you lose your job today, it might be hard to find the same one tomorrow. I mean, especially if you're in a couple industries, and we're seeing industry shrink right now.
Yeah.
We're filming this from Iowa. At the end of the day, the ag industry is not great here. And when John Deere lays off people, there's a trickle-down effect to all the suppliers and manufacturers that supply to this ag industry. And if you're in that industry at any level, I would start preparing for some type of tightening cycle because we're in it.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. I follow land, and I was on the New Holland tractor website
Okay.
2 days ago
Okay.
on their utility tractor, so 55 horsepower up to about 75 horsepower.
Yeah.
They're offering $16,000 cash back or 0% financing for 6 years and $6,000 cash back.
Well then.
So on a $40,000 machine, it's a giant discount.
What were the discounts 2 years ago? 1 year ago?
1 year ago, you're paying a premium for used equipment.
Yeah.
Now they can't give new equipment away. There's a trickle down there. It's coming. I actually watched a guy do a podcast on this. He was in the banking, in the ag banking sector in 2012, 13, 14. And he just thinks it's kind of repeating itself. We saw that big run up in prices when we came out of 2011, 12, 13, because we pumped a whole bunch of money in. And then the same thing happened. And, but point is, if you're in that sector, you're in technology's getting soft. If you're one of these sectors, you should be thinking, okay, if I lose my job, what are we going to do? And number two, how easily can I replace this job with the same pay? I remember watching a Fox News, I believe it was, clip, and it was a John Deere employee out of Ottumwa, Iowa.
Okay.
And they started out and they said, hey, you lost your job. He goes, no, I want to preface this. I took a retirement package, also known as we're not going to call it a layoff because you took a package.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the silent layoff. So if you're there, you should be prepared. In 6 months, most of the time can do it.
Okay. I was talking with a guy who's 61 years old, works at one of these associated manufacturers, not within Deere, but within another industry. And he's like, I can feel it. I know I'm there. I'm 61 years old. I don't know what I'm going to do now. I'm like, hey, do you have your emergency fund? He said, yes, I've been stocking it away. I only go to breakfast once per month now because I've been putting all that other money away to make sure that everything is taken care of.
Well, that's a good point. So if you're 60 and you've done a great job saving, you have options.
Yeah.
If you're 35, you don't. Your 401k is not an option. Over 59.5, if an event happened, you have some money to go lean on in there if you needed to.
Yeah.
But before that, you're talking, either you're taking a 401k loan, which we don't recommend.
Right.
You're taking penalties and paying taxes, just a lot of negative stuff.
Premier Investments and Wealth Management, just about 5 or so minutes left, so we're going to make sure we run through some of these financial priorities and how to rank them according to my friends, the professionals at Premier Investments and Wealth Management. Finally, something good to talk about. Get to save for retirement now. Number 4, after protecting yourself and your family, getting rid of destructive debt, and making sure you've saved up for emergencies, this one's like right in the middle of the pack, Elias.
It is. So you can start saving for retirement. I think if you talk to any investment professional, the sooner you start, the better the result will be, the easier it will be over time to hit your goals. And I think another thing to think about, and we're seeing a lot of younger, so the investor class in America is getting bigger. We're seeing more and more young people come into investing. And with that, you get a lot of the kind of newbie mistakes, or maybe not mistakes, but they're going to try stuff. And, you know, we typically recommend owning diversified portfolio or haystacks. We're not trying to find the needle in the haystack and pick out the individual securities. But I think it's good. As young people come in, there's more demand for the equity markets. That's a good thing for everybody. But certainly with your retirement dollars, you should be looking at diversified portfolio, being invested for growth long term, and don't get cute with it.
Yeah. Well, and that's where a financial professional comes in. Roger, you got about 3 minutes left.
I think one thing to keep or to think about for individuals is, why are you saving the money? Right? Well, I'm saving it for retirement, but what does the money do for you? You're actually saving this money to drive future income. That's what this money is going to do for you. And a lot of people don't think about that. They just think, oh, I'm supposed to save for retirement. Well, the reason you're doing it is so you have income in 30 years. You know, if you're accustomed to living on $150,000 a year, you're going to have to do a really good job saving. Your 401k might not be enough. So just have an idea, hey, this is how much income I need in the future. This is why we do the Premier Vision document and the one-page financial plan, is so people know this is what my savings rate needs to be. Because for some people, they just assume, well, I go get my 401k match and that's enough.
Yeah.
Well, maybe if you're making $60,000, but if you're making $200,000, it likely will not be enough to keep your lifestyle up in 30 years.
Your Honor, permission to treat the witness as hostile? Thank you very much, Your Honor. Short answers to these questions, because we want to make sure we answer all of these. The importance of focusing on other savings goals. Can you do two things at the same time, such as start your retirement savings as well as other savings, like for your kids' college education, or do you just do one, get it to a point of satisfaction, then slowly move it into the other?
Yeah, I think you, number one, make sure your retirement's taken care of. Make sure you're contributing enough. And then you can set your goals and priorities. So, you know, just do a vision board. What do we want to accomplish the next 5 years? What do we want to do? If college education's there, fund that next. If lake house is next, fund that next, and just start going down the list.
Start young. Next one. What's constructive debt?
Constructive debt's going to be good debt like the mortgage. Okay. So at some point...
Asset-based debt.
Yeah, asset-based debt. And at some point, it is good to have all of your debt paid off. And I don't know anyone that the bank doesn't own their home anymore. They own their home, and they do not enjoy it. Right. Most people really enjoy that.
Final one is give to charity. One thing I've learned from my friends at Premier Investments and Wealth Management, that it's better to give with a warm hand than with a cold hand. You need a financial professional that you can work with on a regular basis in order to achieve these 7 things. The way that you prioritize them, they will work with you. Go to premieriwm.com, click Get Started, answer just a few questions. They will provide for you a one-page Premier Vision document. Or you can make an appointment online. Or Roger, the phone number to call.
800-383-6590.
That was the voice of the Big Kahuna. He's the new sheriff in town. My name's Doug Wagner. Thank you for attending. We'll be back with you next week.
Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC. The opinions voiced in this show are for general information purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial or tax advisor prior to investing. Premier Investments and Wealth Management and LPL Financial do not provide tax advice. Please consult your tax professional. Economic forecasts set forth may not develop as predicted, and there can be no guarantee that strategies promoted will be successful. There's no guarantee that a diversified portfolio will enhance overall returns or outperform a non-diversified portfolio. Diversification does not protect against market risk. All performance referenced is historical and is not a guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and cannot be invested into directly. There is no assurance that the techniques and strategies discussed are suitable for all investors or will yield positive outcomes. The purchase of certain securities may be required to affect some of the strategies. Investing involves risks, including possible loss of principal. This recording contains only general descriptions and is not a solicitation to sell any insurance product or security, nor is it intended as any financial or tax advice. For information about specific insurance needs or situations, contact your financial professional. This video is intended to assist in educating you about insurance generally and not to provide personal service. They may not take into account your personal characteristics such as budget, assets, risk tolerance, family situation, or activities which may affect the type of insurance that would be right for you. In addition, state insurance laws and insurance underwriting rules may affect available coverage and its costs. Guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing company. If you need more information or would like personal advice, you should consult an insurance professional.